Spouses down here in southern Illinois using it this time. No problem at all. Weather is all clear. 200 lights models. The forecast in the area, Champaign Brook, clear skies. Winds out of the northwest, 310 to 10. That's through 7 o'clock this evening. 5 north of the airport, 350 above ground level.
How many million?
And it proved there's nothing at all in the sheet.
But how does that influence how many?
Thank you, sir. What I'm doing here is I'm straining the fuel to check for any contaminants such as water, dirt, anything that might have accumulated in the gas. Looks like a little, you have to drain out quite a few containers full to properly see if any condensation has got in here. We have a little water, as you can see, and it falls to the bottom. You definitely don't want to have water in it. That happens from when you put the plane away, you get condensation inside the tanks. And really you should keep the tanks full when you put a plane away. Evidently someone did it. Right here I'm working my way along the side of the plane to check for any bumps, any dents. Checking, make sure there's no screws loose. Find a screw loose, just tighten it. You're looking for any kinks in the wings. Making sure everything moves freely. Checking the bolts, make sure they're tight. None have worked loose. Under here, you're checking for any kinks again, and making sure that the rudder stops are on. What them do, they prevent the rudder from hitting against your elevator here. If that happens in flight, chances are you could be in some serious trouble. They could lock up and put you in a spin. So you always want to make sure that the rudder stops are on. The rudder stops they're just 2 bolts that prevent it from moving past the position it should. Once again, you're checking for loose bolts, nuts. Making sure no one scraped the ground on a hard landing. Making sure the antennas are on and tight. Next, you want to go inside, put the flaps down. Once again, you're checking for fuel contamination. There is none. Always make sure the door stays locked in position. You're checking bolts once again. How much play is in the flap? Bolts once again. And nuts. Always want to make sure the wing weights are on. If they're missing, chances are the wing could be out of balance. Maybe it'll cause you a major problem, maybe it won't, but you should never take an aircraft if the weights, these are the weights right here, if the weights are missing. Right here, you're just checking for any kinks or dents. You get up on top because the aircraft does have fuel indicators or fuel gauges, but no one uses them because they can be inaccurate. So you always want to check and make sure you got the right amount of gas in It is showing flow. So you're checking the venturi, so there's no bird nests or anything like that in there. Any spider webs. You're getting down here and you're draining fuel once again for contamination. It is the lowest part of the aircraft, so naturally waterfalls is heavier than fuel, so it'll naturally find the lowest part in the aircraft. I'm checking fuel too. They have them in colors. You want to make sure this uses 100 low lead and it's blue. You don't want to have jet fuel in here or anything else. So you always want to make sure it's blue in color. Right now you're checking the prop for nicks, cracks, anything like that. You check inside. You can cut. Make sure the cone is on. Make sure it's not loose. Next, you're looking inside for any bird nests, any spider webs, anything that might catch fire that a bird might have dragged in there from the hangar. You never know. But you definitely don't want to have a fire. Make sure the cleaner, air cleaner is clean. Next, you're coming over to the side here. You're opening the flap. Okay, go. Next, you're checking the oil, making sure it's full of oil. You want to have 8 quarts in there. For a cross-country flight, you can run this down to 6 quarts, but if you're going on a cross-country flight, such as from here to Champaign, you want to make sure it's full of oil. And it is. Once again, you want to check for any loose wires, any bird nests, anything that might cause a fire. You lock it in place, make sure it's locked. Once again, you're stepping up to check the fuel. It does have fuel. You're checking your pitot tube, make sure it's not blocked or it'll affect your instruments. Making sure everything's tight. Looking for any nicks or abrasions or dents, which might have, it could happen very easily. If someone's taking it out of the hangar and they hit the side of the wall, they don't want to say anything, they put it away. Once again, you're checking the weights, making sure they're in place, checking the nut on the aileron. You're checking the plano and the flaps. Once again, checking the nut. Seems to be okay. We already checked the fuel. Next, you're stepping into the airplane, getting in it, getting yourself in, putting your seat belts on, put the flaps down, hold the door open again, adjusting your seat. Then you get your checklist out. Okay? Pre-flight complete. That's just what we did. Adjust and lock seats. Adjust all seat belts. Doors and windows closed, but for this purpose we won't. You test the brakes. Mixture rich. Okay, carb heat cold. Prime is required. You're pulling the primer out. You're putting raw fuel into the cylinders. Give it about 3 prime. I will shut my door. Primer's locked. Then you clear the area. Clear! Master switch on. Magnetos to both. Your hand's always on the throttle. Then you start it. You want to keep it at about 1,000 RPM. schedule what's up there, even though you don't use these. Okay. Next, you're checking your fuel. You're checking your oil pressure. Make sure it's in the green. Your oil temperature should be in the green. Check your cylinder and your carb temperature for carb ice, etc. Cylinder temp, it's okay. Next, you want to pull your rotating beacon on. It's a light in the tail that knows, everyone knows the engine's running at that time. You want to turn your radio on, your transponder on standby, and you want to punch in 1865. That's the automated information service. It'll be coming on in a minute. Okay. That gives you your altimeter setting and the winds.
Temperature 62, wind 340 at 8, altimeter 2991, NOTAM missing.
Okay. It just gave you your wind, where the wind is, and it gives you your altimeter setting and it gives you outside temperature. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be calling up and asking for traffic information. This K-Key Unicom. K-Key Unicom. Traffic advisor, please.
Make a key traffic 4 Juliet, Southern Markham inbound on the ILS.
Traffic choosing runway 34.
Okay. Now, cut.
Traffic with the 952 is on base, turning final for 34, touch and go. Center 572 turning down with 7.